All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Banff All Candidates Election Forum. It's wonderful to see such a great turnout here this evening. Obviously, it's the only kind of formal forum that we have. A lot of people are really engaged in this one. And, of course, an opportunity to get to know the candidates running here October 16th. I just want to give a big thanks to the Banff and Lake Louise Hospitality Association for organizing this event. They've organized a lot of not only municipal forums, but provincial and federal forums as well, and they're really wonderful events that help to inform and educate the voters of Banff about the big issues. Banff Lake Louise Hospitality Association also proud to be putting this event on in cooperation with the Rocky Mountain Outlook, PSAV, and Banff Park Lodge. We are live streaming tonight's event. We're just working out a few kinks there, but this is really great. The Rocky Mountain Outlook has done this successfully with all of the Canmore forums, and it's been really awesome to be able to watch them from home. So hopefully the people that couldn't make it here tonight will be able to get the opportunity to do that. You'll also notice we have two screens on either side of the room. We're going to use them to broadcast the structured questions being posed to each candidate, so it's a little easier for you to follow along, as well as for the candidates, too. My name is Rob Murray, and I'm the morning guy from 106.5 Mountain FM. Woohoo! Really thrilled to be able to do this evening, and essentially my job is just to keep the evening on track. With 18 people on the stage, it's going to be really important that we wrap things up by 10 o'clock. So I'll be pretty strict on time, not only with the candidates, but with people asking questions from the floor. So a few housekeeping items. Washrooms on the far side of the foyer, just beyond the doors in the back there. There are some candidates who put out some campaign literature in the foyer as well. Many of the candidates will be sticking around after the forum this evening in the foyer. There will be some beverages, I believe, as well. So an opportunity to maybe have some one-on-one conversations. If your particular question or issue doesn't get answered tonight, you might have an opportunity to find that out face-to-face. When it's time for questions from the floor, please note we have two mics set up right in the front there. I'd ask you to line up behind one or the other microphone, and we will get to your question as well. We also have some submitted questions, and those will be selected about every third question or so we'll be drawing out of the hat. So if you prefer to have your question written and submitted in advance, we have Sachi, our volunteer, in the back there. If you could give everyone a wave there. She's got a bunch of forms, so you can head back there, write out your question, and they will be delivered to me up front. Brenda and Jesse are our official timekeepers tonight. So we will be giving each of the candidates 1 minute to respond to pretty much everything. And they'll be holding up a yellow card at 50 seconds, which will give the candidates an opportunity to wrap up whatever it is they're saying. And then at 1 minute, it's the red card, and you'll have maybe 2 or 3 seconds to finish your sentence. And then I'll be, again, somewhat strict about that this evening. Here's how tonight's going to unfold. We're going to start the evening by inviting the two mayoral candidates. We already have them on stage, Karen Sorensen and Hugh Pettigrew. Hugh will start with his opening statement, followed by Karen. Then we're going to ask them a total of 6 predetermined questions, and again, 1 minute to answer those. And then we will invite the council candidates on the stage. We will go through alphabetical order. They'll have a 1 minute prepared statement. We'll have 16 prepared questions that 3 of them will answer. This has already been predetermined who's going to answer each question, so each candidate will get a chance to answer 3 of the 16 predetermined questions. Then we'll be doing the questions from the floor. Now, if you are asking a question, you need to, well, you can ideally direct the question to a particular candidate or 2. We're going to ask you to limit it to 2 specific candidates if you are asking questions from the floor. And if there's no specific candidate it's addressed to, I've got a little bucket as well that has random names, which will be sort of drawing from that bucket. Out of request for everyone here, I'd also ask that you get nice and close to the microphone, as well as we're looking for questions, not statements. Maybe 1 sentence sort of preamble to get into it is fine, but if you start making a statement, I will sort of prompt you to get to a question. If you don't get to a question right away, then it'll be the next person in line. And then finally, each candidate will have closing remarks of 1 minute to wrap up the evening. Again, hopefully we'll be done at around 10 o'clock. So, Without further ado, let's get to it. Hugh Pettigrew will have 1 minute to provide your introductory comments, followed by Karen Sorensen. So Hugh, whenever you're ready, please start.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Madam Mayor and fellow candidates, Mesdames et Messieurs, Mayor Sorensen, et tous les candidats, bonsoir. I came to Banff in 1982 when I was hired by Public Works Canada to work on a Trans-Canada Highway Twinning project. I was a project technologist on the project for the duration of the first phase. Banff is also where I met my wife Alana, who was born here, and where we raised our 3 children. I acquired 28 years of direct transferable experience in municipal government, having worked in various sectors and leadership roles. I have superior municipal budgeting experience. I fully understand the commitment and responsibility required to be your mayor. I am a strong leader that believes in respect and integrity. I will ensure that everyone at the table gets heard equally. Through my leadership, I will be your voice at council. You will have your say.
Thank you. Thank you. Karen.
Thank you. Good evening. There is not a person sitting anywhere in this room that doesn't want what is best for our hometown of Banff. We all share that goal. Mayor and council make decisions in what we believe to be in the best interest of this community for today, but equally important into the future. When I think about future Banff, I envision a robust range of housing options so that each Banffite can find a place to call home. I envision no RVs in the downtown core, no congestion even on the busiest days in Banff because there are varied and frequent transit options within town and within the park. I envision a hometown where a newly arrived 20-something and a young family with children and a dog can afford to make a go of it here and be able to age here and continue to contribute. As your mayor, that is what I think about every day, in every meeting, in every discussion, in every decision. I'm seeking re-election to keep the momentum on our biggest issues moving forward.
To the 6 questions. For the first one, Hugh will answer first, Karen second. Question number 1 has to do with leadership and setting the tone. So Hugh, if elected mayor, please describe what specific steps you would take within the first 60 days to help establish the strategic course you believe council must take. And what does the relationship between council and administration look like after those first 60 days?
Well, that's a really good question, and the fact is, I believe that the council that's elected, if I'm also elected, will have to meet to review their strategic plan. I plan to have a facilitator come to that meeting so we can establish our goals and objectives for the next 4 years. And then after that, I believe that progress report or that strategy report will go to Robert Earl so that we can give him direction to go forward with.
Thanks very much. Well, there is a process in place when a new council is elected. First, we put everybody through an orientation process, and of course, the new candidates particularly benefit from that. We then go through a number of meetings that we refer to as boot camp, because there are a number of processes that we need to learn and understanding what your role is in governance compared to the role of administration. And then, yes, there is quite a long strategic plan process. The current council created a plan from 2014 to 2018 to lead the new council into their term a little bit. That process takes a couple of days. Council at that point sets direction. It is the council of the day that determines what will happen in this term and what their priorities are going to be. And at that time, we then hand it over to administration to help us determine how we move forward with those things. Council sets direction, administration puts the plan in action, and then council comes back to approve the options for moving forward.
Thank you. We're going to move on to question number 2. For this one, it will be Karen first and Hugh second. This one has to do with representing Banff to Alberta, Ottawa, and the rest of the world. The mayor's role extends well beyond the borders of the town of Banff to political offices in Edmonton and Ottawa. What would be your key message if you were meeting with the Premier, and would it be a different message to the Prime Minister? Karen.
Yeah, the messaging is different. Clearly, the Alberta government has certain responsibilities, and we work with the provincial government on certain matters, things like education and healthcare. And of course, the federal government, as I like to call them, is the mothership. And with Parks Canada administration office here in Banff, we work very closely with the federal government every day with our local superintendent and the local staff here. But beyond that, we certainly do need to be in Ottawa. Our minister is the Minister of Environment and Climate Change, and currently she oversees Parks Canada. They are very interested in Ottawa, what we're doing in Banff, certainly with our cry for help for the 2017 summer season and to bring some transit into the park through Parks Canada. We were very successful in that. One of the things that will happen this term, which is crucial, is we will be looking at the Banff Park Management Plan with the federal government. I think it's important that the mayor at that table has relationships built in that environment and understands the document and the repercussions of changes.
Go ahead.
So yes, both the federal government and the town and the provincial government and the town should continue to meet. One of the things I really believe we should continue to work on is to seek resort municipality status. Banff Council needs to continue to advocate with the GOA for additional funding, resource, and push for that resort status. The goose that lays the golden egg needs to be fed, or the eggs will become smaller.
Thank you, Karen and Hugh. Our third question has to do with the Parks Management Plan, and this one will be directed to Hugh first and Karen second. The Banff National Park of Canada Management Plan helps to inform an understanding of the town of Banff's place and role within a national parks context. This plan will be rewritten in 2020. What key positions would you advance on behalf of the town of Banff as part of the management plan process if elected mayor? Hugh.
If elected mayor, I think the positions on this park management plan is to make sure that they're reasonable in what they're going to put on to us. We've been growing at a rate of exceeding the 2% expectation from the previous plan that's about to expire. And I believe that the federal government has a responsibility to make sure our success is there also. The management plan needs to consider the fact that we have such a shortage of housing, and the cost of housing is so extreme that I think that needs to be reflected in that. With that, the question of the day will be, will there be a population cap, and will that be part of this rewrite? And I think we need to be at the table to ensure that our interests are guarded on that.
Thanks very much. As suggested earlier, the Banff Park Management Plan is a guiding document for the town of Banff. Our land use bylaw and our community plan are born out of that plan. And of course, the federal government, unlike most municipalities, actually signs off on our community plan and our land use bylaw. We used to look at a rewrite of the Banff Park Management Plan every 5 years. Parks Canada changed it to 10 years, so it will be done in 2020. But certainly the newly elected council will have to start moving on that right away. I think what we're looking for in that plan is clarity. It's certainly been demonstrated within our community that some of the language is vague and up for interpretation, so I think we're all looking for clarity on some of the language in there. One of the things that I want to do if elected, and I'm at that table, is certainly make sure that we're very clear and that we are protecting the rights of our residents, particularly on our leases within town. And obviously it's a large document, and the town of Banff is only a small part of that plan.
Thank you, Hugh and Karen. Our fourth question has to do with a shortage of housing inventory. While it is widely understood that Banff has a housing shortfall, there are varying opinions about how the shortfall should be addressed. If elected, what would be your key message to your fellow councillors? Karen first and Hugh second.
Well, I would say that this is one area where the current council has been very successful in the last term. We did work with Parks Canada, and we did have secured 12 lots from Parks Canada with a 90% discount on the cost of those lands. The town has 2 developments in the works with Parks, and the province of Alberta, of course, has helped us fund TNU, the first project that we're working on. In terms of my message to a future council, I don't think I've been on a council. I'm not sure there has been a council where housing hasn't been certainly a serious priority, if not the number one priority. I have myself a proven track record of negotiating with our federal and provincial counterparts. I stand by my record that I have fought for the residents of Banff to secure more affordable housing. I would continue to do that as mayor, and I would encourage a new council to fight that fight with me.
So yes, we definitely have a problem with housing. We are running at near zero vacancy, and this situation is negatively impacting our workforce and our families. Housing will be a perpetual problem and needs creative solutions to eliminate it. I do believe that we need to start looking at other opportunities with Parks Canada within our boundaries, and that I also believe we should start looking at PPPs, private-public partnerships, similar to what happened with the co-op housing in the brown areas. I believe that from a management side, from a constructability side, from cost-wise, we'll be well served by that model.
Our fifth question will go to Hugh first and Karen second. It has to do with the Banff Community Plan. If elected, what will your position be on the town continuing to have the flexibility to grow its population up to the 10,000 permanent residents described in the Banff Community Plan? Can you give me a second? I think at some point, the community plan or not, we need to have the population have a say in whether we should be at 8, 9, 10,000 or bigger. And I think as a mayor, I think it will be the mayor's responsibility to ensure that the population is on board and that you have your say. If we keep going at the rate we are by increasing the density of certain areas, we could well exceed 20,000 people by calculations that I've received by this. I had discussions with Robert Earl on that, and it depends on how we do this. So let's be careful, because I don't think we need to go that big. I'm not sure that we would want to, or that there's a plan to do that. I don't believe there's a plan to do that, but that is the question.
Thank you. Interesting topic, Rob, because therein lies the problem in the community plan and the Banff Park Management Plan have different content. The Banff Park Management Plan, which again I go back to, which is the guiding document, suggests that it is anticipated that the population of Banff will not exceed 8,000. There was a number 10,000 in previous years, but I won't take time to explain how that happened. But currently the number is 8,000. I guess I would say with respect to that, I certainly have full respect for Parks Canada. They are our landlords. I certainly appreciate and expect to continue to respect the commercial square footage limit that we have, the commercial cap that we have, and certainly whatever is deemed important in terms of population. I will respect what Parks Canada deems is important within our community in a national park.
Great. Our final question for the mayoral candidates will go to Karen first and Hugh second. This has to do with the vision for the community. Describe, in your own words, what the community of Banff looks like in the year 2021, when the next municipal election takes place in Banff. What specifically will you be able to say the town is or has become as a result of your contributions as mayor? Karen.
Well, thanks. I spoke to this. I gave a lot of consideration whether to run for a third term as mayor, and part of the decision was around the fact that I feel that we're well down the road of how I do envision the town of Banff in 2020 or 2021. My vision is that we will get to a healthy 3 to 5% vacancy rate so that our residents have choices as to where they can live. I certainly am very proud of our current transit system. I would say we're 70 to 75% of where we need to get in terms of transit. The town of Banff transit is excellent. Just note, 350,000 riders up the Sulphur Mountain route this summer, over 1 million riders this summer if you put all our routes, including regional and Parks Canada and on it in that number. So we're having great success with transit, but we're not there yet. We really need a full commitment from Parks Canada to join us with Rome, and certainly I would like to have the Banff Park Management Plan complete and clear and everybody happy with the result.
I
I'd like to see an intercept parking lot actually constructed. I'd like to see less cars in town if that's constructed. Keep them out. I'd like to see, well, I think it would be reasonable to see a bigger space in the housing market. I don't think 3% to 5% is outside the box, but reasonably so, we should be able to achieve 1 or 2.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for our mayoral candidates. We'll talk for the candidates. I'd like to take this opportunity to invite the council candidates onto the stage in your pre-assigned seats. So remember, the way we're going to do this is 1 minute opening statements going in alphabetical order, and then we will do 16 prepared questions, each one directed to 3 particular candidates, which was determined in advance. So each candidate will get an opportunity to answer 3 of the 16 questions. And I believe we're organized here, so we'll start with our 1 minute opening statements, once again in alphabetical order, which means that Alan Buckingham is first up to the microphone.
Thanks. When I moved to Banff in 2006, I was incredibly fortunate to work for Friends of Banff Park Radio. Over my 5 years working there, eventually managing the radio station, I was immersed in the history of Banff National Park, the mountain environment, the political situation in town, and tons more. Among the things I learned were the sometimes competing values of protecting this place, town and park, while enabling people to experience and enjoy it. Some say we face this challenge still now. I like to think that we're still being given an opportunity. Our opportunity is to demonstrate how it is possible to be a community that lives within limits. Ignoring our legislated and ecological limits causes us to have to deal with the symptoms they're creating without planning for them. I believe that by embracing these limits, Banff will become a community that's admired for more than just its beautiful landscape. I hope you'll join me in embracing our limits so we can plan proactively for the future, taking all factors into account.
Next up, it's Tony Babacco.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tony Babacco, and I'm running to serve on Banff Town Council. I've lived in the Bow Valley for 17 years, 14 of those being in Banff, working in the restaurant industry, serving you your meals, cooking you your food. I'm running for the working class people of Banff, the ones that don't own their businesses, the ones that still rent their homes. I'd like to give a voice to the people who don't only make this town great, but make this town function. I'd like to bring a new perspective and think, as a resident, it's time for change. Thank you very much.
Grant Canning.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Grant Canning, and I'm seeking re-election to council. I arrived in Banff in 2005 after taking a job in the ski industry, like many other people in this room. Since 2010, I have owned the Banff National Park Coffee House on Bear Street, which until last year was actually known as the Cake Company. I'm sure many people still refer to that. I believe the key consideration for a councillor is to be mindful that all decisions should be made with the best interests of the entire community of 8,000 plus residents in mind. I believe it is about improving the quality of life for all residents, not one person or one neighborhood or even one constituency, but what is in the best interest for the community as a whole. So I'm proud to say I don't subscribe to any one belief or one particular ideology. I believe every decision needs to be looked at differently. Sometimes it's appropriate to raise taxes or hire new staff, sometimes it's not. Each decision needs to be looked at in isolation through the prism of what is best for the entire community. Thank you.
Ted Christensen.
Here you go. All of us are in the privileged position of creating and maintaining the delicate balance between, now bear with me here, the economic, social, and political forces that bring the world to our door, and our roles as stewards of our town and our park, and the desires and needs of we the people who choose to live here. As we strive to determine our path within our legislative boundaries, we must keep predominant in our minds the irreversible changes we make in our social and environmental landscape. We must be vigilant, listen to each other, ask questions, reflect, and deliberate openly to make our decisions wisely. Let me leave you with these thoughts. We face simple questions in our microcosm, our Banff bubble.
All right, Ted. Thank you.
I thought we had 10 seconds more. 2 or 3.
David Dixon.
Hi everyone, my name is Dave Dixon and I'm running to be your voice at Town Council. I arrived here 20 years ago, basically broke as a joke. No, just changed. But I launched a career here, met my wife for 15 years, we're raising our 10-year-old here together. I owe a great deal to this community. I would be both honored and proud to serve the public in this capacity. I am genuine, honest, accountable, and fiercely loyal. I do not come with an agenda of campaign promises. My goal is to bring a grassroots voice to council's chamber. I'm not afraid of asking the hard questions, and I don't mind shaking the tree at all. This town is home of some of the hardest working people I've ever met in my life. And I want the people that have put so much into our community to have a future here. I'm excited to hear what you have to say. Together we can make Banff a more livable community for everyone. Thanks.
Corey DeMano.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for attending tonight's forum. My name is Corey DeMano, and I've had the honor of being a Banff Town Council for the past 4 years. But my love for Banff goes deeper than the term I've just served. It's because of my grandparents who immigrated here in the 1950s and then became a part of the community that I'm able and grateful to say that I have loved Banff my whole life. I've worked as a reporter in Banff, and I currently work for the Banff Community Foundation. So when I was elected at the age of 26, serving the community in this role seemed a bit daunting compared to those. But now that I'm a veteran at the seasoned age of 30, I can say I'm proud of the work that council has accomplished, and it has been a privilege to represent you. If re-elected, my focus is on addressing housing, strengthening transit, and making it more affordable for residents to live here. Thank you.
Barry Ferguson.
Hello. That works better. My name is Barry Ferguson. I was born here, grew up in Jasper, and moved back here after school. Worked in the Valley for the outfitter in town for 34 years. Spent 5 years in the construction business and other assorted jobs throughout the Valley. What I bring to council, I think, is a little bit of cowboy logic and common sense. Okay.
Lorraine Harder.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lorraine Harder. I have a Bachelor of Arts degree in political science and have worked in the customer service industry for the past 2 decades. I am an effective listener and a hardworking and dedicated leader who is committed to doing what is right, not what is easy. I do not represent the interests of any one specific group or business in town. Rather, my responsibility is to you, to make unbiased decisions that represent your best interests. I am guided by a strong system of values, personal integrity, and strong principles of accountability. I believe it is time for us to change the tone of the relationship between our residents and our elected officials. We need to come together and work towards our common goals. I am committed to doing this as a councillor by making clear and ethical decisions that reflect the consciousness of our consensus,
All right, thank you, Lorraine.
Thank you.
Rob Lillington.
Welcome, friends, neighbors, colleagues, former and current. For those who are not aware, my name is Rob Lillington. One gentleman in this room gave me an opportunity at the age of 17 to clean toilets at a local establishment. And from that point, 30 years on, I've developed a career in hospitality and tourism and made the Bow Valley and Banff my home. I think that the current council has made some progress towards concerns that are important to all of us, but I think we can ask more of Banff. I think we can accelerate the progress on certain things, particularly the housing element. I have a background in business and have prepared strategic plans and budgets, so I'm well qualified in that manner. Thank you for listening.
Doug McNamara.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good to see so many faces that I've seen on the doorsteps in the last couple of weeks. Who is Doug McNamara? Well, I'm married 35 years to Leanne, a high school math and science teacher, and of course my best asset. Father to son Rob, daughter Leah, both now married and living out of town, and about 8 weeks ago, a new grandfather. Lover of the mountains, bike rider, golfer, explorer of the world. You can read more about me on dougmcnamara.ca and on my postcards in the lobby, but here's a sampling of some things that are not so easy to find out. Last July, after the fires in Fort McMurray, the Council of the Municipality of Wood Buffalo called me to set up their recovery organization and kickstart the recovery. I spent 3 months up there doing that. In 1998, I got a call from Ottawa to help set up the government of the territory of Nunavut. For the past 10 years, I've been the funding of the Canadian flag. Anyway, I've seen a lot of different communities around the world and lots of different experiences, and I can bring all these things to bear. Thank you, Dominic.
Chip Olver.
I'll just check that this is live. Yes, it is. Well, good evening. It's been an enormous honor to work for you as a town councillor for 23 years. I've lived in Banff for 40 years. Each term of office is exciting. It brings a newness and a sense of continuity. I have a computer science degree with a double minor in business and math. My husband, Jim Olver, and I met when we both worked at the Banff Centre. We raised our 3 children here. I appreciate the chance to contribute back with my time on council. I bring strong principles to the council table. I support community values, addressing our social needs and environmental performance. And we need to do this with the dollars that we have, and we need to stretch those dollars as far as we can. I know millions of visitors feel a special connection to our town, but for us, it is home. And I believe a good place to live is a good place to visit. Livability will be my primary focus if re-elected.
Peter Poole.
Hello, I'll stand up because I noticed a few people.
I'd actually ask you to stay seated just to be fair to everyone else. Thank you.
I'm happy to sit down. Hello, I'm Peter Poole, and first I want to thank the organizers tonight. I want to thank all our hosts, Mr. Denowden, Mr. Horiguchi, and all the staff. And I want to acknowledge that we're here on an important in a valley of peace, recognized long by both Treaty 7 nations, by Tanaka, Shuswap, and Métis First Nations. I have a deep love of this valley going back 3 generations. My grandparents, over 100 years ago, honeymooned here. My parents met here. My wife and I settled here 25 years ago and raised our family. We love this place. When I had an opportunity to build the Bison Courtyard on Bear Street, I wanted to do something great. I want to build connections between environmentalists and businesses, between our cultural institutions.
Thanks, Peter.
Build a great team. Thank you.
Club, the Banff Alpine Racers, for 25 years. I've been involved in many communities in this town as well. I've been part of the golf club, played rugby in the club in Banff, and then I worked in the service industry. I've also done some construction for any of your houses that I may have worked on. The warranty is well past, so but you know, the reason I'm really getting involved is I think it's time for me to become involved, and I think I can add maybe a different opinion that isn't there currently. And I also been through the trials of trying to get a house in town, and I know that there's a lot of hurdles that we need to try and get past if we can.
Thank you, Wade.
Thank you.
Ryan Standish.
Thank you, Rob. There are three types of people in the world. Those that make things happen, those that watch things happen, and those who wonder what happened. Current Town Council is a group that makes things happen, and that is the reason I'm seeking re-election, to continue the great work that we have done in addressing the themes within our strategic plan. For those who don't know what a strategic plan is, it's basically a blueprint for helping a town move forward. It allows us to think longer term. The strategic plan concentrates on the areas where our community wants to be better and more effective, doing more or doing things differently than we have in the past. But in order to achieve our goals, we must have solid leadership moving forward. I believe in Banff, and I believe I have the qualities needed to help lead Banff over the next 4 years. Thank you.
John Whalen.
Hello, friends. Safe to say, I assume that everybody in this room loves living in the town of Banff, as do I. Unfortunately, there are many people living in this room who do not share that sentiment because of the housing conditions and the exorbitant rental rates they have to pay. And those will be two of my principal goals to reduce and will actually increase the quality of and parking. This is a problem that we had, or at least was reported in the papers last year. It wasn't a case of people versus parking, it should be a case of people and parking. We have to provide adequate, clean, safe, affordable homes that have sufficient parking spaces so that we don't worsen the already congested streets in this town. That's it for now.
And finally, Christopher Long.
Hi, I'm Christopher Long. My wife and I moved to Banff about 5 years ago to purchase a business and put down roots. We chose Banff because of the small town lifestyle and big town culture, which is a great place to raise a family. I'm very community oriented. I'm a lawyer and also a director with the Banff Daycare, treasurer with the Banff Canberra Community Foundation, and vice chair of the Development Appeal Board. My core principles are to prioritize the quality of life for committed Banff residents and businesses, fiscal prudence, and transparency and accountability. Instead of buying ads for my campaign, I'm donating to a local charity, so whether or not I'm elected, I'm taking steps right now to make Banff a better place. I'm very cautious how I spend my own money, and I'll be even more diligent with yours. If elected, my goal will be to stabilize property taxes, something that hasn't happened in a long time. Thank you.
All right, we'll then move on to the 16 structured questions. Again, each candidate will have the opportunity to respond to 3 of the questions as either first, second, or third respondent. Let's begin. The first question is going to be for Alan first, Doug second, and Christopher third. It has to do with fiscal responsibility. Candidates often speak about the need for added fiscal responsibility when they campaign for office. Can you describe your experience with overseeing large, complex budgets? Alan.
Thanks, Rob. I've been fortunate in my life to serve on various committees, both national and international, for organizations that have reasonably large budgets. I was on the governing body they call the Executive Committee for the United Church of Canada with a budget of $40 million. I had to deal with the HR, I had to deal with the budgets, going through and figuring out how it works. The town of Banff is a different beast, but it's a similar process. Looking at a budget is the same thing. I feel like my experience with some of these other organizations has given me a primer so that I'll be able to look at a Banff budget and figure out how best to make choices for the community.
Okay. Right. So, well, one part of my life, I was VP of sales for a company called Annixter. We had a budget of $285 million. I had about 500 people reporting to me, and they were losing money when I joined them. In about 18 months, I turned the organization around and got them back on track. Similarly, Canadian Diabetes Association, I was their interim CEO for a year. They were in quite a large difficulty. Turned them around, went from possibility of losing almost $2 million to $600,000 profit and good profit, good return on, or sorry, ratio for donations to expenses. So I think I've proven many different situations of fiscal responsibility.
In the past, I've worked with the government of Alberta, managing multi-million-dollar budgets, and currently I'm the treasurer of the Banff Community Foundation, where we manage, I believe it's over $13 million of funds that are entrusted to the foundation to grow and nurture and give back to the community. In private business as well, I do manage million-dollar budgets, million-dollar-plus budgets. So budgeting is definitely something I'm quite familiar with.
Thank you. Our second question will go to Rob first, John second, and Lorraine third. The subject is leadership. If you could reverse one decision that council has made over the past 4 years, the past 4 years, what is it, and what would you have done differently?
I think the one decision that sort of stands out for me would be proceeding with signing the contract for the paid parking prior to that becoming an ongoing concern. So to sign a 3-year contract without the paid parking continuing to proceed, that is an error. It's easy to say in hindsight, so a bit of forgiveness with council there, but that would be one I would choose to do differently.
Without a shadow of a doubt, the first thing that I would have reversed, if I could get into the Wayback Machine, is the manner in which council and administration handled Bill C-122. That's the parking restriction, 0.6 per apartment unit. They ramrodded it into bylaw 380, and in so doing, negated the opportunity for people like Marty Von Newdegg to complete the appeal process that they had started as a result of the building that is being constructed on Coyote Lane. Thank you.
I think one of the policies that I would look at amending is the memorial bench policy. I think there's a loss of integrity when people sign up for a program or a service, and then unfortunately the rules get changed after the fact. That's definitely one thing that I would look at going back and fixing.
Our third question will be directed to Wade first, Peter second, and Ted third. It has to do with tourism visitation levels. Respecting the legislated limits to commercial development that are already in place, do you believe the town has the ability to serve more visitors by introducing more innovative, leading-edge transportation and environmental strategies?
Well, I think that we're at capacity with all of our hotels through most of the summer, but I do think that with regards to improving the transportation, we are going to be able to move people around town and provide a way better experience. Currently, I think that traffic is a bit of an issue, and I think that as transit gets more and more evolved, and we start to see more frequency with the routes, I think we're going to have better experiences. But to think that we're going to be able to build more hotels, I don't think that that is viable. So I don't say that we can necessarily increase the number of visits, but I think that we can enhance the visit.
culture in this community is one of self-reliance and independence. One of the great things about here is we have a strong culture of guiding. And when you're a guide, you're roped together. You're alert. You pay attention to risks. The issue of congestion is a risk for us. It's an issue that we have to work on our own. If we don't work on it on our own, we'll have Mother Ottawa bringing the boom down on us. And I want us to work on the hard questions and deliberate upon them on our own. That way we can maintain our independence and our wonderful community culture. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Rob, for letting me finish my first statement. We face simple questions in our microcosm, in our Banff bubble, and one of them is, when are we full? How much do we need, and who do we serve?
Our fourth question will be directed to Barry first, Dave second, and Alan third. It has to do with delivery of municipal programs and services. If elected on Monday, what is the one service that the town is providing now that you would like to change, increase, or decrease? Barry.
As for services in town right now, I don't honestly think that there's anything that need to really change. It's always nice to be able to increase public services with the library, daycare. As for decreasing, I don't know of anything offhand that's way out of line. Yeah, sorry, I'm not good at this at all. That's right.
So personally, I don't come in wanting to slash and burn different services and feel like we've overspent. The approach that I want to take is that if the service that we're providing is giving us the biggest bang for the buck for our citizens, I've fallen into seeing an enormous expense, and it really only affects, maybe 14 people in the entire town. I think that expenses just have to be justified. They have to have sort of the greatest effect and reach the most amount of people. Yeah, I mean, when you look at increasing services, I think we've all heard the argument about how we need more snow removal, and we spend money on items like Emma's rink, but it's a dog as far as a business goes. Like it couldn't survive on its own. Sorry.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah, I knew that would happen.
So absolutely every single service the town provides, we need to be looking and making sure that we're giving the best value we possibly can. To me, that goes without saying. But I do think part of the role of a councillor is to provide vision. And when I look at increases to a service, first thing that comes to mind, absolutely, is I'd love to see free and frequent transit. And I think increasing our transit service in town would be a huge boon to us as locals. And if it was free, I might actually use it a lot more. And I think it's a boon to our visitors too. So it's not going to be easy. We're not going to do it tomorrow. But I'd like to see us planning long term to get some free and frequent transit in town.
Our fifth question will go to Brian first, Chip second, and John third. Its subject is land use bylaw. Describe one thing you would change in the land use bylaw if you could, and why. Brian.
That's a tough one. The land use bylaw, currently the land use bylaw is based on approval by Parks Canada. Everything that we do in the land use bylaw has to be approved by Parks Canada. So is there anything I would change if I could? It's a hard battle. I don't think I think we've made great strides, particularly with bylaw 380. I think it's done its purpose, it's served its purpose, it's created the need for affordable housing. So to answer the question, I don't think I would change anything, but I'm certainly proud of the changes that we have made so far.
Thank you, Rob. The land use bylaw changes come about after we review our community plan, and the community plan is done by everyone in the community has a chance to participate. And when we have that guiding document, then we look and see what impact it has on the land use bylaw. So the changes I would make would come out of the next review of our community plan, which will start and hopefully probably won't end within this term of council, but will certainly start within this term of council because the Banff National Park Management Plan will be reviewed first.
There are certainly people in this room who are more knowledgeable as regards the land use bylaw than I am. However, I live across from the Moose Hotel, the recently constructed Caribou Properties at the corner of Moose and Banff Avenue. The manager of the planning department wrote me in an email, said something to the effect, the architect very cleverly designed it so it's only 3 stories. Even the little 9-year-old that I take care of, if she counted the number of stories, she'd come up with 4. The arithmetically challenged, the blind, they would come up with 4. I think we need to revisit the wording of the land use bylaw because part of the problem, I believe, is that they measure to the midpoint of the highest part of the roof. That's ridiculous. You measure to the top of the roof line and that's how tall it is. I would change height.
Our 6th question will go to Corey first, Ted second, and Dave third. It has to do with the relationship with Parks Canada. Please explain one thing that you would do to improve the relationship between the town of Banff and Parks Canada and the town's contribution to Parks Canada's mandate of preservation, education, and enjoyment. Corey.
Well, first of all, I think we have a great relationship with Parks Canada. We recently received 12 lots of land to build affordable housing with a 90% discount on the price of that land. They've been incredible partners on our housing committee as well as our transit committee. So we're asking, gosh, that's contagious, Brian. What they can do contribute, I would like to work with them in terms of what can we do to continue working on better managing our garbage and our attractants with wildlife. I'd like to see us work better on how to protect our wildlife after we saw the wolves, after we've seen bear with 48. Those are super, super tragic, and I think we need to work better with Parks Canada to figure out how we can better manage living in a national park. Thank you.
I think our current council administration worked very hard to formulate and develop good relationships with Parks Canada. The one change that I would like to see worked on is after our summer retention with the fires in the area, we need to review and improve and work on our fire smart fire safety programs.
I'm not really the best one to ask for how the town of Banff's relationship with Parks Canada is right now. I can tell you that we need to manage our visitors. The people that live here in town, they know to keep at bay from elk that are running and bears and what have you. But we need to educate our visitors as well. Maybe it's something that has to go along with every car as it enters the park. Instructions on what to do at this time of year. Yeah. Thanks.
Chip first, Lorraine second, and Peter third. It has to do with resident engagement. The commitment to improve communication is often cited as a campaign promise. If you are elected as a councillor, what specific actions do you intend to take to ensure your constituents are aware of your viewpoints and that you are accountable to your constituents for how you vote at the council table? Chip.
Thank you. Resident engagement is something that happens every day. You have conversations in the grocery store, you have conversations in the post office, on the sidewalk, on the telephone, in meetings, casual or arranged. We also have some formal ways to get resident input. We do a resident satisfaction survey where we ask everyone what are your priorities, and we pay serious attention to that. We do surveys, we have open houses, we have forums like this. So in order to reach out to people, I think we just have to continue doing all the things that we're doing and try to reach out in every way that we possibly can.
I think that when you're elected to council, you have to realize that you're starting a relationship with your community. So we have to be transparent, and as Chip said, we have to have engagement surveys and open forums. At the same time, we have to have our council meetings not behind closed doors. We have to be welcoming and having the people of the community have their voice heard. And we also need to advertise online, be accessible to our community as well through email, grocery store, post office, and just make sure that we're really representing the voice of the people who elected us.
This is a wonderful question. Thanks so much. I do a lot of things in the community. And when I designed the Bison Courtyard, I wanted an outdoor plaza that would become the new heart of Banff so we could gather and have conversations. This morning, I met with senior fire ecologist, with Fire Chief Silvio Adamo, with a guide. We talked about how we can better prepare to be resilient in the case of a wildfire. We know in California right now there are terrible wildfires happening. We know this summer we smell the smoke every day. I want to see that we have a community-based support system to the good work that Parks Canada and the town are already doing. That means neighborhood by neighborhood, street by street, as strong as we can, involving all our community groups. Thank you very much.
The next question is going to Ted first, Alan second, and Grant third. It has to do with traffic management and parking. Visitation to Banff continues to increase, and with it, challenges with managing traffic congestion and parking. What specifically will you be seeking to accomplish at the council table prior to the summer of 2018 to reconcile visitation and parking traffic management issues? Ted.
Well, we're on the way with our transit system. We're on the way with our educative programs with tourists coming into town on the buses, which is a big thing. The transit system is a big thing. More parking is definitely needed. Intercept parking lots come to mind first.
Prior to December of 2018 doesn't give a lot of time for much to happen at all. I think part of what we should be doing as a community is focusing on some of the gains we made this year and dealing with the partners that we've been working with, specifically with Parks Canada and with the Calgary Regional Organization Partnership, where we had the audit come from Calgary. We had people who were able to come to Banff without needing to bring their vehicles. Once they got here, we worked with Parks Canada to be able to move them around efficiently. And as Mayor Sorensen said earlier, we had 1 million people using this system. I think working with those organizations that have already set this up, we've already been working with, would be one of the best things we can do to try and keep things going and maintain momentum going into 2018.
Thank you. I genuinely believe to address congestion and parking issues, we need to focus less on personal vehicles in our community and focus So to accomplish some of these by next summer isn't realistic, but certainly I believe this is where we need to be moving forward. First of all is to eliminate fares on our local transit system. It's already been suggested that this is the way to go, and I absolutely agree. And I think it's absolutely backward that we allow people to park downtown for free, but we charge them $2 to take a bus. If you ask me, if you want things to provide the correct incentive to do the right thing and provide the financial disincentive to do the wrong thing, that's where we need to get. So the other half of that, therefore, is to institute some sort of paid parking system within the downtown core, because that will generate the revenue to go to eliminate the fees on the local transit. A couple other things I strongly believe in is an intercept parking lot with shuttles on the outside of town and bring people into the downtown core. I absolutely think we need to develop a downtown transit hub.
Thanks, Grant.
Thank you.
Our ninth question is going to Christopher first, Brian second, and Rob third. It has to do with the service review and budgeting process. Please describe for the audience what your understanding is of the town's current service review and operating and capital budgeting process, and what changes would you propose to the process, if any, if elected to council? Christopher.
Well, to be completely honest, I'm unaware of the exact process currently taken, so I really can't comment too much on it. If elected, certainly I would make sure that the principles I've enumerated are applied to it, to decisions made, but right now I don't think I have any specific concerns with the process used.
The service review process is a lengthy, intense, and grueling process. New council will experience it very shortly. So what happens is all the managers come before council with their budgets, with their wish lists. Council goes over through all the departments. It takes about close to a week, maybe 3 to 5 days. We see what they're asking for. We make decisions based on budget, tax increases. I mean, we take this process very seriously. What changes what I propose? I think it's probably the most transparent form of budgeting there is anywhere in Canada. We're very, very lucky to have it in place in Banff.
Well, the service review, it is about a 400-page document, so kudos for definitely having that data. I am a data-driven person in my business with Rocky Mountaineer. For 3 years, I was in the accounting department at CMH at Brewster. I do prepare budgets and plans, so I would take my background in accounting and managerial accounting to the process itself. What would I propose to change the process? I want to make sure that residents are getting value for their property taxes. In specifics, perhaps like Dave said, let's make sure that the streets are plowed in winter and that the garbage is collected and all of that. I think that's an area where we can certainly target.
Our 10th question will go to John first, Wade second, and Corey third. It has to do with environment and climate change. The Banff Community Plan says that Banff will be an environmental role model. Climate change is now understood to be the single biggest threat to the ecological integrity of Banff National Park. In your opinion, what measure or measures should be taken by the town to become one of the world's most carbon-neutral national park communities? John.
Well, climate change is definitely one, if not the most important issue facing the world today. As regards what I would do in this area, I think the first thing I would do is clean the forest out to make sure we don't suffer a fire, to make sure we don't suffer the debilitating smoke effects of that fire. I would also take steps to change some of the traffic flow patterns in town such that automobiles do not sit idling for as long as they do, spewing out CO2. Thank you.
Hello? Oh, wonderful. Miss Matchak, have you ever seen me this quiet for this long? So, with regards to environment and climate change, I actually think the town of Banff is already in the process of putting in some great programs, but with the solar panel program, as well as trying to convert some of their larger service vehicles to eco-diesel, as well as looking at going with green building for new construction. I think that the town of Banff is actually working in the right direction. So as far as changes go, I think that I would just promote the evolving work that's already being done by the town. I don't really have anything else that I would add other than maybe more solar power so that we are less of a eco footprint right now, but I think we're doing quite well.
Okay, who has ridden the road bus? Hands up. Yes! Okay, so for me, it's definitely investing in transit, strengthening our transit system throughout the Bow Valley. It's continuing to partner with transit options in Calgary as well. I also think walkability is important in this town, so whether it's clearing sidewalks in the winter time so that people walk to work in winter, or if it's building new trails, like we want to do with the White Museum. I see good stuff there. I did. I also think it'd be awesome to have a bike lane that everyone loves. So I think those are things I would like to see.
Question number 11, Tony, we haven't forgotten about you. You're first for this one. Rob, second, and Chip, third. It's all about tourism delivery services. Given that tourism is the town's only industry, what recommendations do you have to strengthen the long-term standing relationship between the town of Banff and Banff Lake Louise Tourism? Tony.
Hello? Sorry about that. That's a tough question. What I would like to see, actually, to strengthen our long term, is probably to include Lake Louise in our transit system. For the last about 3 years, I've been working 2 jobs, one in Canmore and one in Banff, and I've been taking transit to Canmore every day. I think this would encourage people who live in Lake Louise not to be what's called stuck on the rock. I lived there for 5 years. I understand what it's like to live there and not have a car. Not to be able to get your basic necessities, like coming to Banff and actually going to a grocery store. So I think that's what I would like to see changed, is actually maybe more transit to Lake Louise and included in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. In my role as regional manager at Rocky Mountaineer, this season will have brought in nearly 90,000 visitors to Banff and area for multi-night stays. And I've had the opportunity to get to know several people at the town, on council, and also at the Tourism Bureau. So it is a collaborative effort, certainly to be able to move that volume of multi-night visitors without any impact virtually on traffic, on parking. That's very important. So I think that to really strengthen that bond, there does have to be a bit of input from residents as well, because I think that's a bit of a perception amongst the citizenry, is that in those types of meetings there isn't sort of that open door for residents to contribute to that discussion between the town and that.
Thank you. The town of Banff and Banff Lake Louise Tourism do have a long-standing relationship. Our mayor sits on the board of the tourism, and there's also an alternate that goes with the mayor camp. So we are always represented at every meeting. Recently, something that I really appreciate, and I'm sure other council does too, is that the Tourism Bureau has started sharing data and statistics in a public manner with council. On our council agendas now, we have data about hotel occupancy. So it's not just anecdotal stories that you hear on the sidewalk. We are actually seeing what the hotel occupancy is in the community. I support their focus and their business plan on marketing their shoulder and the off-season, and I really appreciate the partnerships that we've had with them. We've shared costs for surveys for visitors. We partnered with them on communication for this summer, encouraging visitors to come midweek and off-season, and we look whenever we can to share expenses.
Question number 12 will go to Peter first, Barry second, and Wade third. It has to do with transit services. If elected to council, what role do you believe transit plays to help support the quality of life of residents and visitors? What emphasis would you place on this area if elected to council? And should the cost of increased transit services shift to users or be shouldered by local taxpayers? Peter.
Thank you very much. We're doing a great job on transit right now. The cost is being borne partly by the riders, partly by our town. I think Grant made a really good point that the costs for transit are higher than the cost for using your own private automobiles. When I was talking to the seniors last week and the week before, a lot of the seniors know way more about parking and transit than I do. So one of the things I decided to do is that on matters of transit, since I'm not a specialist, I'd turn to listen to the seniors. Thanks very much.
As for transit, I think it's doing a very good job now. For the cost of it, I know it's partly paid by the town and, well, by taxes and by ridership. I still believe ridership still needs to pay. I don't know if our taxes need to go up to support the transit. I think the balance is pretty good right now. As expansion goes, it would be great to see it run to Lake Louise. Would be a great thing. And as it stands right now, I think it does a very good job.
With regards to transit services, I think that there will be a need to increase, and I think that with more frequency, it will be relied upon more. With something that I would like to investigate and look into as a town is I think that we should maybe look into a Cars to Go program, possibly. I'm not going to lie, I wanted to start the business, but I think if we were able to get a fleet of smart cars or something that might take some of that congestion away, we can maybe get rid of some motorhomes downtown, we maybe get rid of some of these larger vehicles that just need to shuttle and get groceries from the campsites potentially. With regards to the taxpayer and transit services, I think that the Roam Bus is operating pretty close to self-sufficiency, and I think that increasing transit will not be a massive impact to the taxpayer, and it will actually only accommodate some of their needs further.
Question 13 will go to Dave first, Grant second, and Doug third. It has to do with public service. How would serving on council mesh with your other day-to-day responsibilities, and what time commitments are you prepared to make to ready yourself for council meetings? Dave.
Yeah, I'm one of those guys that likes to work a lot. People want that work-life balance, so I'm kind of the guy that likes to work and then work balance. And yeah, that's why I'm always volunteering and doing things. And yeah, I keep myself busy. This is something that I'd like to do. This is one of the best ways to serve your community. I don't think I'd have any problem spreading my responsibilities or making the time commitment. I pour myself into just about everything I do. So yeah. Thanks.
say we're a board meeting, I want a coffee shop. If you ever want to have a lot of conversations with the community, you want a coffee shop. No shortage. And what's really interesting about that is it's kind of a two-edged sword, because on the one hand, owning a small business does give you schedule flexibility as long as you have a good staff who is more than willing to fill in for you. Thank you, Rusty. I appreciate everything you do. Yes, that was good knowledge. No, but it is important to balance the two. And then, as I said, I'm very fortunate to have an opportunity in my other job to be able to do that. Thank you.
Well, I've had the challenge of juggling multiple things for many years. When I was up at the center, leading the Center for Management, I was the chair of the hospital board here. So we would remember that was a time when they were trying to take most of the hospital services and ship them to Canmore. Probably spent most of my life, other than at the Banff Center, working on saving our hospital services here. I do some international management consulting. So when I pared back my business about a year ago, so as to travel less, so I think I'm quite capable of, juggling the requirements of this role and my business. I can tell you I will show up to council meetings prepared, having read the package and done any kind of research in advance required to participate in the conversation and contribute to the decision-making and consensus building with my colleagues.
Question number 14 will go to Doug first, Tony second, and Brian third. It has to do with experience. What life experience do you bring to the table that you feel equips you better than other candidates to serve the residents of this community? Doug.
Well, maybe I'll continue with my list for my opening statements. I have had quite a varied life experience in consulting and facilitating around the world in Canada. For example, for 12 years now, I've been consulting to the Aboriginal People's Television Network in Canada. It gives me a good understanding for Aboriginal issues and Indigenous people's concerns. I think that I spent 10 years back and forth to Indonesia, helping them move from a situation of dictatorship to democracy. I understand democracy at all levels, and the leadership and strategic planning. I've been facilitating strategic planning processes for governments of all levels for Fortune 500 companies in Silicon Valley, in Europe and Asia. So I think I can bring all of this kind of experience to the table and contribute to council that way.
For me, it's a little different. I'd say I'm a little bit more blue collar. As I said, I am a server and a bartender. I wasn't always, but I am now. I have been a restaurant manager, a wine director, a director of food and beverage. So I do have experience in the management side of things. I got a great question talking to the seniors the other day, and they said to me, what makes you a leader? And I told them, I said, well, I've managed restaurants, I've worked with budgets, I've done all these things. I've managed people. And they said, well, there's a difference between management and leadership. What is the difference? I said, when you're a manager, you tell people what to do. And when you're a leader, you show them what to do. Thank you very much.
The one life experience that I would bring to the table is teamwork. I've been involved in sports all my life, and sports is all about teamwork. We don't necessarily all agree on the same issues, but we're there for a common goal, and that's what teamwork is really about. The second life skill is experience. There's no better training than on-the-job training, and I've been a counselor for 7 years now, and it's invaluable. Thanks.
Question number 15 will go to Grant first, Christopher second, and Tony third. It's about the shortage of housing inventory. While it is widely understood that Banff has a housing shortfall, there are varying opinions about how the shortfall should be addressed. If elected, what would be your key messages to your fellow councillors? Grant.
Increase supply. That, in my opinion, is the number one thing we need to do as it relates to housing. We've had a As we mentioned before, we've had a 0% vacancy rate for a number of years. In my opinion, in reality, it's actually probably less than that, probably the negative number due to overcrowding in a lot of situations. We need to give people the opportunity to move from one location to another, one house to another. We need to lessen the stress and anxiety people feel when they're in that situation. And to do that, to me, it's all about increasing supply, because the demand isn't going anywhere. So I think it's really important for council and the town to create new programs, new initiatives, new ideas to incentivize the private sector, and in some cases even the municipality, to get involved in increased supply ourselves. That to me is the most important thing.
I completely agree with Grant, and I'm going to expand a little bit. First of all, I completely agree that the supply has to be increased, but the supply of the right type of housing. And one of my concerns is a drastic lack of housing for family-oriented residents. There are a number of people that want to sell in Banff and have families, and there are 1 and 2 bedrooms available for rental, but nothing larger than that. It gets very, very difficult. And one of a long-term solution, I believe, is to incentivize the private industry to help correct the housing shortfall through policy examination.
Okay, I agree with Grant too. We need an excess, right? Supply and demand, that's really what it comes down to. Also, we can look at probably other communities, other park communities that have had the same shortfalls that we've had. Maybe look and see how they've solved their problems as well. Maybe just give us an insight into what we could do here better. Obviously, we're working with Parks Canada, having the new development coming, so that's a key thing. And maybe to get more provincial and federal assistance to allow developers to want to develop here. And when I say affordable housing, I don't mean $2,000 a month for a 2-bedroom apartment. So that's why we need more of it. If there was 15 places in the paper right now, nobody would be charging me $2,000 for an apartment. Thank you very much.
We have one more prepared question before we get to questions from the floor, so everyone who has something, stand by. Question number 16 will go to Lorraine first, Corey second, and Barry third. It has to do with contributing to the discussion. Many issues that council deals with are complex. As a councillor, sometimes this means you'll need to bring councillors over to your way of thinking, often the community as a whole. How do you plan to actively contribute to discussions on all topics council will need to deal with over the next 4 years? Lorraine.
Well, if the last 4 weeks have been any indication on research, oh my goodness, let me tell you. The easiest way for me to bring fellow councillors to my side is to come prepared, do the research, and have both sides of the spectrum brought to the table. I think looking at the pros and cons of any situation will help us to make effective and ethical decisions and always represent the community in its best interests.
So in my past life, I was a journalist. So that meant being a keen listener, avid researcher, and a question asker. So I bring this same qualities that I did as a reporter to being a counselor. That means doing my homework, reading things. That means asking people around me, hey, what do you think about this? It means being open-minded when I do get to council meetings as well. You can walk in and think, oh, I totally know wrong voting on that. And then someone like Councillor Carlos will throw you a high-level curveball. And then you're like, oh my God, I didn't think of it that way. So I really appreciate the discussions that we do have on council. And if you're elected, I look forward to representing you there. Thanks.
Trying to get people onto your side is always work for the best thing, I think, is just sit down, talk about it, try and figure out what the best direction is. You may not sway everybody all the time, and you may get swayed sometimes, but I think the biggest thing is sitting down, talking about it, discussing with people, and finding the best common ground.
Let's hear it once again for all our council candidates. Please.